Welcome everyone to this very special In Conversation with one of the world's greatest living artists, Hiroshi Sugimoto, whose major exhibition, Time Machine, opened to the public this morning at MCA Australia. Sugimoto-san travelled from Tokyo earlier in this week to finalise the installation and to celebrate his exhibition with us. And I'm very delighted to introduce you to him this evening. Now, Sugimoto is a master of his craft, and over the last 50 years, the artist has created some of the most memorable and influential images in contemporary art. I would say that Sugimoto's powerful, resonant photographs have shaped not only the way we see the world, but how we understand the power of photography. His conceptual photography has been shown all around the world. It represents a profound meditation on the nature of human consciousness. Some facts and figures. Time Machine is the largest exhibition of Sugimoto's work ever mounted, spans his entire career, includes all the major series as well as some little-known works from the artist's own collection. The earliest work is 1976, which is included, and the most recent, 2022. There are just on 100 works included in the exhibition. It's curated by the excellent Ralph Rugoff from the Hayward Gallery in London, and my colleagues Meg Robson and Tim Riley-Walsh have worked closely with me on its presentation in Sydney, alongside Hiroshi's studio manager, Greg Stanger. Some quick thanks. I would like to thank our strategic sponsor, the New South Wales Government, through its tourism and major events agency, Destination New South Wales, for their support of the exhibition and their co-presenters of this talk. I'd like to acknowledge our major patrons, K&S Martin Webber and the Nielsen Foundation, and our supporting patrons, Warwick Evans and Minyu Zhang, for their ongoing generosity. I'd like to also acknowledge Sugimoto's many supporters, especially those who've travelled from far away to be with us, representatives from the Artist Galleries, Gallery Koyanagi, Tokyo, and Listen Gallery, London. And I'd like to acknowledge Elizabeth Mildwater, Secretary of the New South Wales Department of Creative Industries, Tourism, Hospitality and Sport, who's in the audience with us this evening. Now, that's more than enough from me. Here's the format for the evening. I'm going to ask the artist a few questions about his 50 extraordinary years of work, and then we'll show a short video of his latest work, and he'll discuss that with us. Sugimoto-san, welcome.
Thank you.
Your survey exhibition is titled Time Machine, a wonderful poetic title, at once poetic and philosophical, drawn from an observation you made about photography. Could you tell us a little bit about how the camera operates as a time machine?
Well, Time Machine is a kind of odd title, but Ralph Rugoff, the director of London, we discussed about it, and then, well, probably Time Machine may explain my career as a conceptual photographer. So the photography is the only medium to study time, passage of time. And usually the photographer go out and to find something to shoot. But in my case, I study my mind. I study my consciousness, and then find some kind of image deep inside of myself. For example, this is the polar bear, the very first one. Actually 1976, but recently I found this was wrong, 1975.
Noted.
And when I first look at this Museum of American Natural History, and that animal, stuffed animal, just posing to me, and I had very strange vision. Wow, this looks like living animals to me. And this is obviously kind of hallucinogenic vision of, I have something wrong in my mind to make it look real. So I wanted to prove that I may be able to photograph it the way I'm seeing it, so that I can have a proof to explain to the people that this is my my strange vision, I always struggling with myself. So I found this, but I found the image in my mind. So it's always like a next series of theaters, and that's also the inner mind. And one night I was thinking of what if I photographed an entire movie of 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Then I had a vision that in the dark, inside of the theater, the white rectangular screen is shining bright, very bright. It's like I'm losing my eye almost. And then I lose my sight, and then inside of the dark theater will be filled with this very nice soft light. So this is all my imagination. And the next step is to go out and make it happen, and then photograph it. So, well, in the late 70s was the kind of booming of the minimalism and conceptualism. So I thought maybe I can join this club with my photography. And photography was considered not as a fine art, it's just a second-class citizen of art field. And so I thought, well, this is good. Maybe I use this new medium to push it up to the first-class citizen. And I spent 50 years, and I think I made it.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because as much as the camera is a time machine, the exhibition is too, in that it puts together 50 years' worth of your work alongside each other. What's it been like to see such a large body of your work together all at once?
Well, I just realized now it's been 50 years. I never think about it. It's half a century. I spent all my adult life, even outside of Japan. I moved to California in 1970 and moved to New York in 1974 and start photographing right away. So the diorama series was the first one, but I even started from 1974. So, well, I gained a sense that how much time has been spent for the one human person's life. I'm age of 76. So when I was young, it's unbelievably, I cannot think of I'm getting old and aged. And there's a Beatles song, When You Were 64. I was 20 years old. So now, after passing 76 years, well, I have a sense of time, how quickly it moves. And then I may have maybe 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know, but I now have a sense of time passage. And I can remeasure it, the history. What was this modernization of the last 100 years? This is only like less than twice as much as my time. And then Stone Age, maybe 10,000 years ago, which was only 100 generations before, my father, my grandfather. So now I have a sense of the history, how human developed the civilization and how human became a human from the kind of animal state to human state. So that I am using photography to investigate that. So this is the history of Henry VIII, and it's the 16th century, it's not so far. It was hard to imagine when I was young, well, King Henry VIII was 400 years before. So now I have a physical kind of sense of time passage.
In different ways, all your works are about different passages of time, either. And you mentioned your theatre images before, which of course have very specific passages of time. The time taken to show a feature film in a cinema, which I love. So 2 hours, really, or 172,000 individual photographic images are included in each of those theatre images. There are other works which, so many works compress time, and there are other works which have quite a different relation to time. And I'm thinking here in particular of your lightning fields works, which are a spark, a moment.
Instant.
An instant.
Yes, it's...
Could you tell us a little about the making of those extraordinary works? Because they're works that worry me when I look at them. They feel dangerous. They feel dangerous to have made. They feel dangerous to look at. They're extraordinarily beautiful, but they have an element of anxiety of a moment in them.
Yes, that was actually very dangerous. 400,000 boat. And then how it started is I visited Henry Fox Talbot manor house. He was born in an aristocrat family in England. And then he was known, well known as an inventor of the photography. But when I visited him, he has so many electricity-related experimental devices with Michael Faraday was his very good friend. And they worked together. And then, so the photography invention was a very small part of his life. And he dedicated to the study of electricity, like Benjamin Franklin in the United States. And so I decided to follow his study. So I recreated the exactly kind of same system with Van der Graaf generator. And then he got very busy with the patent issue after he invented the photography. The French government gave the patent open for the French daguerreotype, but the British government didn't do that. So many people started copying him, and he has to claim this is my invention. So that eats up his rest of the time and couldn't continue the study of the electricity. So I decided to follow up his study. What he would have done this after the photography invention, try to spark it onto the film to make images. So that's the motivation. And then, so I started different kind of metal sheets with films and developers and kind of water itself to rinse. And it took many years. And then it's so I had many young assistants to be tested first to make sure it's safe enough. Then slowly I start doing it by myself. I have a very good insurance.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely extraordinary. So that kind of, I guess that element of time, of life, of danger, of the dead coming back to life is something that appears in a number of your works. And I'm thinking here not only of the dioramas, but the portraits. We saw Henry VIII briefly on screen before. These are extraordinary images in which the dead coexist with the living, it seems to me, in the gallery, in the confines of the gallery.
This is a chamber of horror. I don't want you to miss it. It's a very hiding spot.
It is. And so with the Chamber of Horrors are a subgenre of the portrait series, which you can see upstairs. But you have to look really hard for them because they're in a little hidden secret room. And I can let you into a secret that as of 10 days ago, it was the MCA's electrical storage cupboard, which we have repurposed as a special little chamber for Sugimoto's horrors to sit inside. But I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the process of like, where was the original Chamber of Horrors?
Well, it was in London when I was shooting the Madame Tussauds wax figures in 2000. I did it 3 times. First one in 1997. And then I discovered this chambers horror rooms. It's really horrifying. But if you go there, they removed it. They no longer showing it because of, I don't know, political correctness or whatever. And so this is a very rare record of St. Albans Poisoner's very famous killer. And so in London, there was hidden corner that was shown. But tour to the Beijing, but the Chinese government banned show me to this series. So Sydney is welcoming this show.
The horrifying display upstairs. Yes.
Very British tradition.
Yes. Yes, it is. I recently, when I recently went back to London, I remembered a lot of torture equipment at the Tower of London as a child,
Yes, yes.
which
and
has been
they
removed.
collected the real things. So the electric chair was the original one who killed Lindbergh's baby. Yes, what's his name? Yeah, but this machine was actually the machine they used. They purchased it. So every torture machine or whatever the exercise machine is real. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it says something about human nature that we have this ghoulish fascination, doesn't it, with such items.
Yes. And then, Madame Tussauds, when you go back to the Tussauds now, the company I worked with was they sold it, and then the new company is remaking their wax using the highest technology of 3D machine, but it's not as good as before. It's really fake. I cannot do it anymore.
That's interesting.
So the people used to make it crafted by hand. Queen Elizabeth II was measured from her face. Actually, tape measured. And that's much better than the 3D machine. And I'm fortunate that I was able to do it that time. But nothing is available now like this quality.
And how interesting.
By the way, this is the movie theater, and this is the centerpiece that you get into the gallery. And it was 1978. The film was Saturday Night Fever.
Did you find that a particular kind of film worked better than other films?
I didn't have any choice. I just stepped into the theater, and the today's featured film is being shown. And then usually they do two films, so that's a very problem to me. The first exposure I take in the second movie is a different brightness. It's a horror movie, it's very dark. So I have to, the lens is always wide open. If my lens was f11.5, and this is the brightest, so I have to wait for the next featured film with hopefully brighter film. Like a Western movie is mostly outside shot. It's very nice and bright. Horror movie is not.
Not so good. That's funny. It must have taken quite a bit of negotiation with a number of those works. I know you got into a little bit of trouble in Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana. This is one of the abandoned theater, which is not here, but Gary, Indiana is only like 1 hour east from Chicago, and known as the worst criminal rate, and then killing rate, how do you call? And then only known as Michael Jackson's hometown. But there used to be the U.S. Steel factory, but all of a sudden, maybe 30, 40 years ago, they moved out from that town. 100,000 people lost their job. Now it's the most abandoned city. And this gorgeous theater was totally, it's ruined. And when I step in, the water is raining and dripping and debris keep falling, so I really have to risk my life with even helmet. And I get the permission from local police. And then I hired a retired policeman as a guard, 2 people. But the day before, those people were arrested by trafficking drug.
Oh.
Policeman was arrested.
Oh dear.
So I had fired other private guards, but I spent full night, and around like 4 a.m. I finished. Then some neighbors made a report to police, something weird going on. So actually police came. We all folded up and spent like 30 minutes explaining this. I have the paper proof. But the address was wrong, the number of that. So the police people is looking for the trouble. So I risked my life. That's fold up with a gun.
Goodness me.
This is my only one time that's threatened my life.
Well, I know there has been a lot of negotiation for many of your works, including the wonderful series Sea of Buddha upstairs.
Sea of Buddha, yes.
And a long period of getting permission to photograph it in a very particular way, I understand.
Yeah, it took 8 years almost, yes. But a long story short, this is a 12th century established temple, highest ranking temple, Buddhist temple. Only the emperor's family related people can be abbot of chief abbot of temple. So I didn't know that, but the first I just simply asked, may I ask to photograph the temple? They said, not clearly, but you are commoners. We don't accept the commoners' request. So, well, Japan is very traditional. I'm proud of that here. And then after several times, but finally, 1995, I was given the one-man show at the Metropolitan Museum. That was the first museum show. And Philippe de Montebello was a director, and I asked him to write a nice letter to the temple. Well, this is a Japanese artist. We want to have him show his work with temples. And then nice letter translated to Japanese. I submitted it, and they said no. Because those American people come to see us. We don't go out to show us. So it's very beautiful answer, I think. Yes. And then finally, I took this letter to the cultural the section of the government, my minister. Then finally, they said, well, from the request of the cultural department, they are giving quite some money to restore for every year. So they said, okay, this time we don't say no. That's a beautiful answer. So finally, I was given a couple of weeks every morning from 5 to before the door opens, and beautiful sunlight coming out from the east, and you feel the shoji screen in front. And then only 30 minutes, it shines, all the southern Buddha shines with a gold leaf. It's just beautiful. And then nobody, including monk, I insisted this is the best moment, probably in the 12th, 13th century. This is a highlight of the day, and you guys have to pray for something. They didn't listen to me. So instead, I was able to photograph it. So if you even go to Kyoto, this is a famous spot, you don't see the Buddhas like this. They're hanging a terrible fluorescent light. And it's still great, but this is the best you can see.
So we see them like 12th century people did through your photographs.
This is exactly what the people in the 13th century used to see it, including, we can share this moment with 13th century people. It was established 12th century, but it's burned after 100 years, and then they saved maybe 10% of the figure out of 1,000, and the center figure was rebuilt, but it's still 13th century. Yes.
So again, your camera acting as a time machine to take us back.
We can share the time with like a 700-800 passage. Maybe you can feel the passage of time through my photography.
I've been asked quite a few times over the last week what my single favourite image is in this exhibition, and I find that impossible to answer. I love so many of them. But if I were pushed, I think it would be the Seascapes. And there is not one single one, it is the Seascapes. We have 11 beautiful works on display upstairs, including an image of Bass Strait taken from the Tasmanian coast. But you've taken more than 150 of them. What's in your mind when you take those images, at the moment of taking them? What is in your mind?
Well, I've been traveling all over the world and just to shoot water and air. And always, it's better to be far away from the civilization. So in Australia case, Tasmania was the best condition. I don't see any people. I cannot see the sea with people swimming or a leisure yacht or boat or no activity of humans. So, which means I'm trying to find the primordial scenes of seascapes. So as if I were the first one appeared in the planet Earth, standing at the seashore and looking at the seascapes. And then all of a sudden, well, find yourself. Who am I? Where am I? And so this is kind of my early childhood memories as the same kind of connected. I was like 3-4 years old, and then I was on a train, and passing through the tunnel, and all of a sudden, I saw the sea, clear horizon. So that was the first memory of as a human being. And after the seascape images, now I can count the next day or next year. So I project myself like as if. I think I can trace back my memory, not as my personal memory, but can be followed as a human memory when human became human. So it has to be simple enough, but impressive enough. And then just ask myself, wondering who I am, where I am, kind of questioning things. So this is kind of impact of the human's awareness or consciousness that I've been looking for.
So you're equating your memory of your own first moment of consciousness with the idea of a potential human ancestor's moment of first consciousness.
Right.
And we see the sea in the same way.
Yes.
Yeah,
I thought
beautiful.
that this is too simple, and probably as an art, it may not be sold so well because it's so simple, everybody can take it. But actually, it's end up as my bestseller. And then also technically, this is the most difficult scene to photograph with 8x10. And I spent almost 10 years just to study and investigate the developing method and machine. I have to create my own machine. Otherwise, usually, if you process it with a tank or tray, what you can see is a kind of unevenness of development. So to make it perfectly clear, it's very difficult. So I usually say, well, if you can do it, try to do it. And it's not easy. Many people tried, but they all failed. So not this quality. You can do it with your iPhone, but to get this quality, yes.
Yes.
I guarantee it's mine.
Yes. Well, I mean, it is yours, and having looked at a number of them, I carry them with me in my mind, and I project them onto my own view of the sea. When I see the sea, I'm thinking of a Sugimoto frame on the sea, and that's a great gift that comes from your work, the ability to see the world through your lens.
Many collectors I visit their house, they usually hang my seascapes in the bedroom, in the living room, is Jeff Koons, Murakami, Kusama, whoever. Very, very bright one. But they always hang my seascapes in the bedroom.
Oh.
So peace of mind, guaranteed.
Right. Yes. Just that sense of calm. Yeah.
Very calm.
It's lovely. There's a search, it seems to me, or not a search, that's I don't know the wrong word, but a look towards the infinite that is in all the seascapes. You know, we are looking to the infinity of what we can see at the horizon, at that line of the air between the sky and the sea. And it struck me that your work is often concerned with matters of infinity. In your architecture series, your wonderful blurred images of great modern buildings, there's another kind of infinity at work. And you've described that as twice infinity. What does that mean?
Twice infinity is actually, it doesn't exist in this real world. But using my 8x10 box camera, and then usually if you have an Nikon or a Canon, your focus can be stopped at the infinity point. But in my wooden box camera, I can go beyond the infinity. 300 millimeter is a standard for 8x10, which means you have a 300 millimeter between lens and film. That made a sharp focal point in the infinity. But if I can go past to make it 150 millimeter between film and lens, that's conceptually, it's a twice infinity point, which is quite out of focus. And so in this way, I think I can travel through the space and time as twice infinity, mystery zone, that's kind of. And then I just focus twice infinity into the famous iconic architectural building. And then I feel like I'm going backwards time again into the actual building shape to the imaginative shape of the building when architect conceived the image of the structure, which is usually more beautiful than actual finished product. The architecture is a negotiation with a reality, the budget and the client. So this is kind of facelift on the building and take all the details dissolved and bring it back to the original strong concept of shape of the architect. So this is, again, the time machine going backwards. So the weak building, let's melt down. Only the strong structured building remained under my attack of out-of-focusness.
You've described it, I think, as erosion testing architecture,
yes.
And to see what's left
Yes.
at that point. You are, of course, an architect yourself, Sugimoto-san,
Yes.
as well as many other things, as we've discussed over the last few days, a collector of antiques, a musician, a
Yes.
stage designer. But as an architect, you designed and built the Enoura Observatory, part of your work with your Odawara Art Foundation.
Yes.
You've described this as your final major body of work.
Yes.
And coming full circle in this conversation, your earliest childhood memory of the sea, which you described before, was seen, I believe, from the train of a window nearby. We have a video to show now
yes.
of the Enoura Observatory, which is about 4 to 5 minutes. And then Sugimoto-san will talk a little about his aims for the observatory.
Okay. must be a sound.
崖の縁にトンネルがあって、そこに窓が開いてるんですよね。でそれでまずパッパッパッとこう映画のコマ落としみたいに海が見える。それで急にここに出るんですよね。そうするとこう180度広がってる海がこう見晴らすことができる。でその印象がものすごく強くて、でそこから僕の記憶が始まるということになるんですよね。そのうち車じゃなくても今この森の中をこう歩ける遊歩道を作ってて、あそこからこの歩いてこられるように今作ってるんです。まだ自分の土地で行ったことがないところがいっぱいある行ってみたらすごいところあったな。竹林も初めて入ってみてすごいなって手をつけ始めたんですね。まずは遺跡を作りたいと思ったんですよね。滅びた後の美しさっていうのを想定しながら作るって、これは普通の建築とちょっと違うと思うんですよね。人類がその意識が芽生えて文明っていうのを作り始めた頃に、人間っていうのはどうやって建築を作り始めたかということに思いを馳せて、それをもう一回追体験してみたいなということが基本の木にあるわけですね。一番最初のコンセプトというのは、この地下の70メーターの水道が、冬至の日に向かってその太陽が昇るところに向かって伸びている。これがもう最初の構想で、それに対して付随して、じゃあ夏至の日、それから春分秋分の日はどうなのか、そういうその宇宙の運行上の軸線を人間がその自意識が芽生えて、自分は何なんだろうと思った時に、やはりその一番最初にしたことっていうのは、自分の場所を知るということですね。それでやったことというのが、太陽の運行の規則性っていうのを認識するということが一番最初の人間の意識の始まりの行為だと思うんですね。そういうものをもう一回再現してみようと。自然の方が全然ね、造形感覚が豊かだからなんかこう人生の総まとめみたいなもんですかね。人生の宿題が終わったなっていう感じがしますけどね。これは誰が作ったっていうその記名性も忘れ去られてもいいような、誰が作るともなくあるっていう、そういう佇まいの方が想像上では美しいな、ロマンティシズムっていうんですかね、ある意味では。
So this is my promotion video, shot 7 years ago. So this was still under construction, but it's been 7 years and I have so many expansions. So, well, please come to visit my foundation when you have a chance to come to Japan. It's only 1 hour from center part of Tokyo. Yeah, that's very convenient.
Could you tell us a little bit about the way that it brings together the various aspects of your work?
So maybe 20 years ago, I was looking for my small house near seashore, and then I was guided to this property, and I found out myself that this is the place, exactly the spot that I started my memory of my seascapes. So this is a kind of miracle through my friend, and I was given this land. And then this is agriculture zoning, so I cannot build my house because it's agriculture zoning. And then the only way is to establish my foundation, public foundation. Then I found I can be able to make my own structure, but shouldn't be benefit myself, so it should be public domain. And so I made it like land art kind of art complex, and then start designing this space with winter solstice. The first idea is to build like a 70-meter tunnel with a winter solstice direction. So once every year, December 22nd, then you can see the sun rising up from the east sea, and then beautifully just traveling through the right. And then 100-meter gallery for the summer solstice, and then spring and winter, autumn equinox. I have no stage with the bridges. And then also the tea house is open to this solstice. And then the sun hit the tokonoma, so you don't have to hang any hanging screw or anything. You just worship the right. So this is they're trying to commemorate the ancient time of the human civilization and how the consciousness started, how the sense of time started. I think it's a sense of time, and then the consciousness is that happened same time when human gained the consciousness. And civilization means you seed in the spring and plant it, and you wait for 6 months and you have a crop. And so that sense of time is very important for the human civilization, I think. So just to remind the people how was it happening in my foundation. Yes.
Do you think that we are losing our sense of time in relationship to the land and the seasons?
So this is a plan to be completed maybe 5,000 years later, remained as a beautiful ruin. So most of the structure is made by stone, like a pyramid we see, and we have a Parthenon in Greece. And I probably, how much time we have to go for the civilization. We keep destroying the nature, so we have to stop it somewhere. Otherwise, we may not be able to survive. So I have quite a sense that some problems waiting for us as a civilization state size. So at least I want to make a ruin of our modern civilization, just in case it's disappeared. Yes.
And so people can come to the observatory and reflect on these ideas.
Yes.
And what would you like people to do with them, with those ideas?
Well, just hunger and feel. And well, it's hard to be on a solstice day. It's we only allow 30 people, so we have to lottery to happy winner to be there. But besides that, I keep expanding. Now it's 12 acres of land, but probably next year I can be able to purchase nearby kind of abandoned agricultural field. It used to be an orange field, booming in the 50s and 60s, but now it's so close to the metropolitan area of Tokyo. There's no young people living there, zero. Average age of the resident is 75, and then the people working for the agriculture, the average age is also 75. So, and so I'm trying to, well, since my sales, my art, to raising some profit, then I will dump my profit, the cash, into this property. So my conceptual lifestyle is that I want to die with a cash balance 0.
Perfect equilibrium.
Yes, money, art makes my money, and my money is transferred to another type of the art, which is quite ideal. If you leave cash, there's so many bad things happen. Inheritance tax and children fight each other. So art is the best solution for me.
And I mean, so beautiful that you're making something that will speak to the future.
Yes.
In many ways. Speak to our present predicament, but to the future.
To future, yes.
Yes.
And to future and to nature. And so I'm bringing back, I'm planting so many citrus trees, many different, almost 20 different kinds, lemon, lime, orange. So this is the kind my orangery in a way.
Beautiful.
And then we start selling the fruits and honey, the bee honey. We started last year. And then so, even the civilization is toward the end, I think I can, at least my family or staff can survive, that we can produce food. Yes.
Wonderful.